My name is Toby Summerfield. I'm a guitar player and bass player in Chicago. One of the projects I do is called Never Enough Hope. It's a very large group. There's a rhythm section, 2 drum sets, an electric bass, and 2 electric guitars. Also, lately there's been a Fender Rhodes and as many as 3 vibraphones. That alone is like several bands worth of stuff. I think one of the drummers uses like a DW custom. There's been 3 drummers who've done so. So one guy uses a Rogers, like a vintage Rogers kit, and one guy uses like a very sort of high-end Pearl kit. The other guy uses a DW kit. And there's a lot of dealing with tuning the toms in a nice way, tuning snare drums, tuning bass drums. They kind of do that of their own accord. We talk about it generally leading up to the gigs, but it's their discretion once we're actually playing. There have been 3 electric bass players. The first 2 just used my Fender jazz bass and my bass rig, which is behind me, which is a Gallion Kruger 800 RB running in stereo into an SWR Son of Bertha 115, and then the Goliath Jr. 210. So the guys in Chicago have used my bass rig both times, or all 3 times, and then in California, Eric used his own bass amp, and I'm not entirely sure what it was. Actually, it's an SWR 4x8 they don't make anymore, and an old SWR head, the name of which I don't know. And then he has a custom-made fretless 5-string. And then the guitars are always Telecasters. The 3 guys that have done it so far all played different eras of Telecasters, all through twins. Everybody has a line 6. One guy has a head rush, so it's 2 line 6s and a head rush. I wish I knew Roger's pedal board. I would tell you all about it. He has a whole big, enormous pedal board. And then the vibraphones, I think all the vibraphones this last time were Musser vibes of varying vintage. And they have their panoply of mallets. The Fender Rhodes, I own one that lives in California, and I own one that lives here. And it was a 70, there's a 76 that's out there, and there's an 88 in this pile of stuff behind me. And those always run through twins as well. And then you get into the interesting stuff. There's 2 trumpets, and in California there's a trombone. I tried to have a trombone here, it didn't work out. 6 saxophones. There's a bass saxophone, bari sax, 2 tenors, and 2 altos. Also, sometimes those guys double on clarinet or bass clarinet, and then in California we had another guy who just played clarinet and bass clarinet. And then there's the string section. It's written to be just like a string quartet, 2 violins, viola, and cello. I've had a cellist play the viola parts, and I've had another, in California we had an extra violin who doubled various parts depending on what she thought needed doubling. She's one of the people who's been in the band the whole time. Really the only amplification that's necessary is for the strings and of course the electric guitars. We generally reinforce the bass drums. Like if we're playing at a club, the bass drums get reinforced and the vibes get mic'd. And there's usually it's like stereo condensers, although at a couple of the clubs we used just like a pair of 57s underneath the tubes. And it wasn't as rich a sound, but it meant you could turn it a lot louder before it fed back, which was great. You get all the attack and a lot of the pitch, but not like the, I don't know, there's a meatiness in sort of the middle of the note that was a little bit hollow that way. But anyway. And the strings we've dealt with a number of different ways. They'll have all their own amps, or the second time we did it in Chicago, I rented a PA and had somebody just who was like the sound guy for the strings. So they had their own mains and their own monitors. That worked pretty well. It requires everybody in the string section to be pretty chill because the band is sort of a nightmare for the string players. And they're generally very patient with it because like a violin and a bass saxophone are not going to ever be at a comparable volume in a room without serious amplification.